Yes guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about Chris Paul and look over his unbelievable NBA career lasting over 15 seasons. Obviously it's not over yet. This season even he's having a great season with the Phoenix Suns, having them currently at the second seed with 40 wins, which is unbelievable, especially where they were last year. So this video we're going to look back at Chris Paul's career from the start to the present, and you'll just recognise one of the best point guards of all time. After all, he is nicknamed the Point God. So we're going to start at the start, and that started in 2005 when Chris Paul was drafted by, at the time, New Orleans Hornets, now known as the New Orleans Pelicans, at number 4 overall. CP3 joined a rebuilding Hornets team, and he ended his first season as Rookie of the Year, averaging 16.1 points per game, 7.8 assists per game, and 2.2 steals a game, with the Hornets ending that season with a 38-44 record, so a losing record. I think they came 10th in the Western Conference that season. So, you know, a rebuilding side, but obviously knew early on they had a great young point guard on their team. Obviously won Rookie of the Year. In CP3's third season in New Orleans, the Hornets got the second seed in the Western Conference, only one game behind the Los Angeles Lakers, with a 56-26 record. That's an unbelievable. Look at that contrast there between 38 wins to 56 in 3 seasons. Now, it wasn't just all Chris Paul. They clearly built a better roster to put around him, but he was probably the main player, one of the key players in that transformation from the 10th seed in the West to 2nd seed. And in that 2008 season was probably Chris Paul's best chance of winning the MVP. In 2008, after leading the Hornets to the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, winning 56 games in only CP3's 3rd season in the league, just 2 years after the Hornets ended the 05-06 season with a 38-44 record, CP3 came 2nd in MVP voting, as I've said, only behind Kobe Bryant. You know, and he had a very legit case to be the MVP over Kobe that season. His 07-08 stats were 21 points per game, 11.6 assists per game, 4 rebounds a game, and 2.7 steals a game on 48% shooting from the field. So his stats have gone way up since his rookie season, and he gave Kobe a good run for his money for MVP. And I think if Chris Paul won MVP that year, people couldn't really complain. But in 2000, he came 2nd overall anyway. In 2010, CP3's injuries started to hit him, only playing 45 games in the 09-10 season after tearing his meniscus. So injuries at the wrong time will be one of Chris Paul's biggest downfall, especially in the playoffs. So this is when it all started really, 2010, after tearing that meniscus. So CP3's playoff history in New Orleans. In 2008, obviously 2nd seed, got to the playoffs. They made the Western Conference 2nd round, losing to the San Antonio Spurs. CP3 averaged 24 points per game and 11.3 assists per game in that year's playoffs. So 2008 was a great season for CP3. Got the Pelicans to the 2nd round, losing to the Spurs, no shame in that. So yeah, good season. In 2009, they made the playoffs once again, this time losing in the 1st round to the Denver Nuggets. But that was a very good Denver Nuggets team with Carmelo Anthony and those boys. They think the Nuggets actually made the Western Finals to the Lakers, so no shame losing to the Nuggets that year. And then in 2011, they lost once again in the 1st round, this time to the Lakers. And CP3, he averaged 22 points per game and 11.5 assists per game in those playoffs. So CP3, 2nd round was the furthest he could bring the Pelicans, but you know the Pelicans, they haven't got any further than that since. So CP3, his time in New Orleans, you know, I think I'll be remembered as a very successful time there, bringing them from outside, more like a lottery team than a playoff team to, you know, a team that can compete in the Western Conference. Like losing to the Lakers, Nuggets and Spurs, no shame in that. So CP3, he can hold his head up high with his time in New Orleans. In 2011 now, in 2011, CP3 was officially traded to the Lakers to join Kobe Bryant, you know, and make another big duo there in LA. In a team, he was also involved in a 3-team trade, and it was official for like under an hour before the NBA commissioner, well at the time Commissioner David Stern, vetoed the trade. We all know this story. You know, Stern said, I don't know, I forget the official reason, but it's probably would make the NBA unfair, really, joining CP3 with Kobe. But then that doesn't really make much sense now. People are always saying with the Brooklyn Nets forming super teams, the Heat forming a super team, you know, even the Lakers, AD and LeBron. So Didn't make much sense at the time, but Stern vetoed the trade, so CP3 never ended up playing with Kobe, but he did still go to LA, still did play in Staples, just with the Clippers, the B-Tech Lakers, whatever you want to call them. He ended up with the Clippers. And he joined Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, and then the Lob City era began in LA. And for Clippers fans, it was an exciting period for them. Before CP3 joined the Clippers in 2011, the Clippers ended that season with a 32-50 record. So 2010-11 season, the Clippers were 13th in the Western Conference with a 32-50 record. CP3 then joined them for the 11-12 season, and the Clippers ended with a 40-26 record. That would put them 5th in the Western Conference. And that really sums up Chris Paul's impact on teams he joins. Every team he joins, it's not a fluke. He's done this on every team. Obviously, they Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, JJ Redick joined a few years after. They had a great roster, Jamal Crawford. But CP3 was the main man in that team, I think. Him and Blake, and just sums up they went from 13th in the West to 5th. Says it all, really. And he also averaged 19.8 points per game and 10.7 assists per game in his first season in LA. And in 2013, the Clippers won 50 games, getting the 3rd seed. So in only a couple of years, Chris Paul went to a team that was 13th in the West, and he brought them to 3rd. So, his impact is massive. CP3 stayed in Los Angeles with the Clippers for 6 seasons, turning them into one of the most entertaining teams in the league. The Clips never got to a Western Conference Finals during the Lob City era, but they haven't made it in their whole franchise history anyway. And the main reason why they never made a Western Finals was come playoff time, either CP3 or Blake Griffin would be injured. Injuries, stopped this team from reaching their potential. As I said, they're one of the most entertaining teams, Lob City, but either Blake or CP3 always got injured when it mattered most. In 2015 playoffs versus the San Antonio Spurs, in Game 7, CP3 injured his hamstring, but still hit the game-winning shot versus the Spurs and got them through to the second round, where they played the Houston Rockets. And I think this is a series that they went 3-1 up, and then they ended up losing in Game 7 to the Rockets. So CP3 obviously injured against the Spurs in round 1, but still the game winner against the Spurs in 2015. But next round, 3-1 lead against the Rockets, and ended up losing it. I think that was their best chance to get to a Western Finals, in my opinion. That Rockets team weren't too great, but it wasn't meant to be. In 2016, they lost to a young Blazers team after CP3 broke his hand, against that Blazers team. It was a freak injury. I think it was that one when he tried to get a steal and his hand got caught in a Blazers player's jersey, and he ended up breaking his hand. So that's just bad luck. That's nothing to do with CP3 or Blake, any of those Clippers members. That's just complete bad luck. So they ended up losing to a very young Blazers team. And 2017, they lost to a young Jazz team with Blake getting injured in that series. So that's those 3 eliminations with the Clippers says it all. Freak injuries to CP3, Blake Griffin getting injured in 2017. It clearly wasn't meant to be for CP3 or Blake or any of those Lob City members for them with Clippers. That's why people call the Clippers franchise cursed, But CP3, once again, 6 great seasons in LA, changed the culture there, made them one of the most competitive teams in the West. So he took his talents then in 2017 to Houston, and he teamed up with James Harden, which at the time people thought was a weird fit, because 2 big ball handlers wanted to run the offense. But he was only there for 2 seasons, but after that first season, it seemed to work very well. In CP3's first season in Houston, the Rockets won 65 games, getting the 1st seed in the same conference as the at the time Golden State Warriors, who were in their prime at that time. So, impact once again off the bat this time, with Harden getting the 1st seed in the Western Conference. In 2018 Western Conference Finals versus the Golden State Warriors, this is CP3's best chance of making an NBA Finals and maybe even winning it all. CP3 and the Rockets took a 3-2 series lead against the Golden State Warriors. So they had the Warriors on the ropes. CP3 and the Rockets had a great Game 5 where they won, but CP3 got a hamstring injury after that Game 5, and he missed the last 2 games of that series. The Rockets had 2 games to play to win one. Game 7 would be in Houston. So, James Harden haters, or people that don't trust James Harden, would say that Harden just had to get the Rockets over the line for 1 game out of 2. It wasn't meant to be. He couldn't get it done. The Rockets didn't get it done, and they ended up going out in Game 7 on their home court. And that's one of the biggest, what if moments in Chris Paul's career and in Rockets franchise history, really. What if Chris Paul had just stayed healthy for those 2 games? Probably 2 of the biggest games of his career, and he had to miss out on them due to injury. And that sums up Chris Paul's playoff history, really. Injured at the wrong time. So unfortunately, and I think, if Chris Paul stayed in the court, who knows if they would have got through. I think there's a fairly good chance that they would have got through. Then they would have played the Cavaliers with LeBron, those boys, but that is a really bad Cavaliers team, so I think the Rockets could have easily won the chip that season. But who knows, it was meant to be. Then in 2018 off-season, CP3 signed a 4-year, $160 million extension. And the 18-19 season would end up being Chris Paul's last season as a Rocket. That season the Rockets, they lost in 6 games in the second round to the Golden State Warriors. That season didn't go as well. James Harden and Chris Paul started to bump heads. And at the time people were calling Chris Paul's contract one of the worst in the NBA, around $40 million a year. So after 2 seasons in Houston, Chris Paul and the Rockets moved on. And 2019 off-season, CP3 was traded to a rebuilding OKC with no Russell Westbrook or Paul George. And going into the 2019-20 season, the OKC were a rebuilding team and they had very little to no chance of making the playoffs that season. No one would bet on them getting anywhere near the playoffs. But surprisingly, CP3, with his leadership and his ability obviously on the court, carried that team to the 5th seed and to a playoff spot obviously, winning 44 games that season, which is unbelievable. They lost in the first round in a Game 7 to the Houston Rockets, in the first round as I said, but they only lost by 2 points in a Game 7, so they were very unlucky not to win that series. But no one gave them a chance of getting the playoffs that season, and this time in OKC was a great success, averaging 17.6 points per game and 6.7 assists per game, while also, teaching young players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and other of the young players still have to this day. So CP3, his impact was massive in OKC, not just getting him to the 5th seed, but obviously his leadership on and off the court to the franchise. So he did a great there. And in 2020 off-season, as I said, after a very successful spell in OKC, CP3 was traded to the Phoenix Suns. And CP3 joined a Phoenix Suns team that narrowly missed out on the playoffs last season, with some great young players like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. And he currently has the Suns second in the Western Conference with a 40-15 record, second in the Western Conference and second in the NBA. They'd be the first seed in the Eastern Conference if they were in the East. So they're having a great season, and they're 1 game off the Utah Jazz, as I said. So they're very close to the first seed. They can easily get there by the end of the season. This season he's averaging 16 points per game, 8.7 assists per game, and on 48% shooting from the field. Now it's not all Chris Paul. Devin Booker has played his part, Cam Johnson, those great role players, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, as I said, Jay Crowder, they've all played their part. But CP3, as I said, at this stage of his career, it's not a coincidence what he's doing. He's gone to the Hornets, he improved them, or the Pelicans at the time, improved them. Went to the Clippers, improved them. Rockets, got him so close to the NBA Finals, improved them. OKC, massively improved them. And now, with the Suns, they're improving massively. And this could be their year. They're probably the most disrespected, not... Disrespected might be a bit too strong of a word, but people don't really give them a chance, the same chance they give the Jazz, the Clippers, the Lakers, before Jamal Murray's injury, the Nuggets. People are skeptical, which I agree on, because, you gotta prove it. You gotta show that you've got it in the playoffs. This team got no playoff experience except for CP3 and Jay Crowder, but he's been unbelievable. So overall, CP3 will go down as one of the greatest point guards of all time, and definitely one of the best ever to never win a ring. Hopefully he wins one for his career, but if he doesn't, he'll go down as one of the greatest to never win a ring, which isn't really a good thing, but may as well put it out there. He's improved every team he's been on, as I've said, and he's gone to some situations where if a different superstar with a different mentality could have just sulked. Like going to OKC, he could have just demanded a trade out of there, didn't want to be there, but no, he improved all the players there, made the best out of a pretty bad situation, and now he got the OKC to the 5th seed. Went to the Suns, he might have thought, I know I'm better than this, could have demanded a trade. He's gotten to almost the 1st seed. So CP3's got a great mentality, he's improved every organisation from top to bottom he's been on, and he's great for young players as well. And hopefully he wins that ring. As a Lakers fan myself, maybe not this year. you know. But if it can't be the Lakers, I would not mind seeing the Phoenix Suns winning it all this year. And they have a chance. They've as good of a chance as anyone. Unfortunately, with Jamal Murray's injury, that puts the Suns ahead of the Nuggets. You know, I'd put the Nuggets up there ahead of the Suns, but that changes now because unfortunately of Jamal Murray's injury. So they got a fighter's chance. So over his career, his career is still going on, as I've said. He's played over 1,000 matches, averaging over 18.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 9.4 assists per game, on 7% shooting from the field, and 37% shooting from 3 over his career. An 11-time All-Star, 4-time assist champion, 9-time All-NBA, 6-time steal champion, 9-time All-Defensive, Rookie of the Year in 2006, and second in MVP voting in 2008. So CP3 will go down as one of the greats, as I said, nicknamed the Point Guard. So the question is, where do you guys rank Chris Paul in point guards? You definitely have Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Steve Nash. I'm going to forget some now if I keep going, but you get the gist of it. There's some great point guards out there. Where do you guys rank them? Top 5 for me, in my opinion. Maybe you guys agree, maybe you guys disagree. Leave in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you've got any future video ideas, leave them down below as well. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications because stay notified when we upload. Thanks for watching, as I said. And with all that said, I'm out of here.